I don't know what to tell you. I've tried to be an upstanding citizen. I even bought a minivan like everybody else who's lost their will to live, and I just can't do it. So on today's video, we are going to be putting the fourth engine in the Charger. Fourth one since I've owned it anyway. Because reliability is nice and all, but yeah, this is a Charger. I haven't gotten anything done that I had hoped to yet this summer, because summer only really started 3 days ago. Right now it's pushing 80, but just a couple days ago, we were still getting down to about 35 degrees at night. And I did not really feel comfortable spraying paint on the Torino when it was getting that cold. So here it still sits, pretty much how you saw it last time. Started doing a little bit of body work here and there, but didn't want to get too carried away and have everything being bare metal for who knows how long. So hopefully soon we can get back on this. In the meantime, we're going to put the 360 in the Charger just because it's going to be a little quicker than putting it in the Belvedere. This is another reason I haven't painted the car yet. Every time something goes up the road, you're sucking in dust for the next 5 minutes. That's not exactly conducive for a nice finish on something. And there went another one. Anyway, for those of you who haven't been following along, this 360 has like 23,000 original miles or something like that. It's in really good shape. It came out of a 75 Cordoba that was hit by a train, and then that car was just passed from auction to auction. Finally, somebody pulled the motor and transmission, put it in cold storage, and here it is. I paid, I think, like $200-300 for it or something. So here later in the video, you'll see how we get this in and out of the carport. We'll clean it up and get it ready to drop into the Charger. First, we need to move the Charger to the one flat section of yard. That's not rock, so I have a hope in hell of moving the engine hoist around, which is right about in this area. And to do that, I need to move the van, I need to start up the Charger, and hope there's still enough transmission fluid in it to move it, 17 feet that way. I suppose we'll do a quick will it run on the old Caravan here. Everybody's waiting with bated breath for this. Fantastic. The white face gauges are about the only thing positive I have to say about this particular vehicle. I bought it to flip while I was working on the Ronnie truck, which is currently inoperable. I have the steering column torn apart on that. And of course, because this is Alaska, I can't find the parts I need, so I ordered those out, got raped on shipping expenses, and they may show up at some point. When, I have no clue. It would, however, be nice to drive that truck around and not be starting it constantly with a pair of vice grips. The AC is also something that's a little bit neat about this. When it's 80 degrees out, I can appreciate it just the tiniest bit. It's still a fucking minivan, though. You want to make sure to park as close to the edge of your yard as possible in the old minivan, because if it happens to fall off, your life can only improve. Ah, yay, just what I wanted. More fucking dust. Yeah, it's getting pretty bad now. It's just covering everything, and it's getting in everything. If I had any say in the matter, I wouldn't have had the main lot be that close to the road, but it's just how the property was laid out. On that subject, another reason why I haven't gotten almost anything done this summer is because I've been spending all my time down the hill here opening up another plot of land to start parking cars. Still need to get the stump grinder in here, and after that, put in an actual driveway so I can at least get a truck to drive up and down here to haul projects back and forth. But it's going to open up a pretty decent amount of new area to store long-term projects, and they're kind of hidden from the road by the berm of stumps and everything from when this was all pushed over. I piled a ton of the brush up over here because the neighbor's house is right there, and I want to make a little bit of a barrier. And yeah, there's quite a slope to everything still, but it's better than nothing, and I think it will be usable square footage for vehicles. And parking spot here, parking spot there, parking spot there. You can park something right in there. And I'm not going to hoard just for the sake of hoarding, but I've had to pass up a lot of things lately that would be free or next to free just because I didn't have a place to put them. As soon as we get the stumps out of here, I'll probably do a video just showing how we kind of wrap this all up, putting in the driveway and everything. It's going to just be truckloads of dirt, pickup truckloads of dirt, building up the slope that I would like, and then a truckload or two of gravel. And it'll have to be good enough, because if I can't afford to gravel the whole upper lot, we're not going to be getting dump trucks in here for this project. It is hot as balls out right now. I had to take down a lot of trees to make all this happen, and there were some dead ones up there that had to come down. Kind of regret that right now, but I don't want something falling on a car I actually care about either. The few things I've gotten done that you haven't seen footage of is I've been piecing together the interior of the Belvedere a little bit. It now has door cards in it, and the dash is relatively complete. All that was taken out because the previous owner was putting glass in it. So it's just one of those things that's a time suck, and kind of hate to do it, but it looks better when it's done. Haven't done much with the flat charger. I've hoarded some parts here and there. I have these old Kragers with really good tires on them, actually, that will be going on the car. They'll look, era correct, and they look like they've been sitting in the woods for 30 years. So I think it's going to work out pretty well. On the topic of tires, I don't know if it's the same in the lower 48, but up here in Alaska, it's gotten pretty much impossible to get anything that's not a 16-inch and larger. There used to be a time, not too many years ago, that you could go on Amazon or Walmart's website, pick out any tire your heart desired. 13s, 14s, 15s, didn't matter. You could buy them. They were cheap. They were a name brand, and you could get free shipping. I don't know what happened. Could probably blame it on COVID, like almost everything else in society. But fuck trying to get that stuff here now. And this is why the International still sits with a flat tire. I want this to be the tow vehicle because it holds the trailer perfectly fine. But I would like a brand new set of tires, all four corners, LTs preferably, to throw on here, and I can't find them. Now you're just at the mercy of some tweaker selling tires that he found at the transfer site on Marketplace for 4 times their value, or you need to go to the actual tire shops in town and pay the inflated price that they gouge you because of their shipping expenses. So yes, a slight part of the issue is that I am a cheap ass. But when you can buy a whole van for half what it would cost to get tires put on this in town here, there's a little bit of a problem. Well, now that I'm all pissed off thinking about that again, let's see. I did sell a couple vehicles. So Studebaker that was sitting here all winter, that's gone. Sold it to a kid who works at O'Reilly, and he has pipe dreams of making that into his daily driver. So hopefully that all works out for him. He has the employee discount at least. I sold the blue Power Wagon. And I sold the 64 Valiant convertible. Now that one is a little bittersweet. I know I really like the car, but I was never going to get around to putting a top on it. And I didn't want it sitting outside under a tarp either, because, that just traps moisture and ruins your finish and all that. So I try not to do that if at all possible. I ended up selling that to a friend of mine for what I believe is a pretty fair price. He already has it running and driving around. He finally got all the parts to get the brakes working, and he's shipping up a fender for it and everything. So I think it's going to get the care that it deserves, and I believe we're still going to take it on a trip out to Tok. So watch for that in the future. Theoretically, that's still going to happen. From the same guy, I acquired that as well, which will be going on the flat charger at some point, because if you're going to make an exhibition car, that's the car to use. Imagine this showing up to a drift or burnout contest with a 671 on top of a 318 that has 250,000 miles on it. I think that's just how you win at life. I haven't done a whole lot with the four-wheel drive hearse either. What really needs to happen is like an A-frame built above it here so we can hoist the body up, get the lumber out from between the frame and the body, sit it down where it needs to be, and then figure out body mounts, and then figure out who I can have come out and weld up body mounts. The plan not too long ago was to put the 360 into the Belvedere, because personally I prefer that body style, the late 60s B-body compared to the early 70s B-body. I think despite the number of doors some people might have an issue with, that is the cooler looking car. but the Charger is going to be a little quicker to get going down the road again. For the Belvedere, I would need to get motor mounts, maybe have a drive shaft built. I need to title the car, which up here isn't a huge issue. Last I did the process, but still, it's like $300 in an afternoon. The Charger, all I really need to do is the front end needs some bushings, and it still needs a windshield, which I've been putting off for years because of how expensive it is. It's getting pretty bad though, so might need to bite that bullet if I can find anybody to even ship one up here. Despite this engine still making over 50 pounds of oil pressure warmed up, it runs half okay, but it just smokes so horrendously. That, along with the transmission starting to slip so bad, it makes more sense just to put the whole motor and transmission combo that's in the carport in this at one time instead of fighting with either of these separately. See, it doesn't run all that bad, and it has a lot more power than the 318 that was in here previously. I just don't want to be that guy driving around town with a James Bond smokescreen behind me, because that takes a cool-looking car and brings it into tweaker territory. It's the only thing the guy could get running kind of deal. This is a good motor. I just think it needs valve seals, so we'll be keeping it around for something in the future. At one of the last car meets I drove this thing to, somebody decided to just put confetti in all my vents, so that's appreciated. The last 2 times we put a motor in this car, it's been over a weekend, and we've had a ton of people over here. It helpful, but at the same time kind of chaotic because you have 3 people trying to do 3 different things, and I think this time I'm going to just take my time with a little bit more. We're going to yank this one. I'm going to clean the engine bay really well, paint anything I deem necessary, and then I'll drag out the 360. We'll clean that up nice, flush it out with a garden hose, yada yada, and just, take our time getting everything put together so that nothing falls through the cracks. Another thing I would like to do is a little bit of body work on these seams right here. This one should be pretty easy just to fill back in. Most of this Bondo is still attached quite well. I'll chip off what's not, smooth it over, done and done. Probably keep ignoring these holes here. And around the other side, it's a little bit worse. This one's going to take a little bit more to fill in. I don't know why they went so extreme with that. It's not really necessary, but whatever. I'll just try to make it look a little bit better. Somebody put a half quarter on this at one point. Then there's a little bit of rot down there. And a little bit of rot down there I'd like to do something with just so it doesn't get out of control. But, again, it's just a driver quality car. I'm going to order big STP stickers to go back here, what Petty actually drove, make it look a little bit more accurate. And I'm going to order new sticker packs for up here, more vintage actual performance parts that you would find on an NASCAR of this era, not just random bullshit speed parts from modern day, like what were on here. Also, when the 360 is dropped in, I think I'm going to go with an HEI distributor and just simplify the ignition system to the best of my ability, because both the 318 that was in this and this one, they both have a mist that's almost identical. So either it is the biggest coincidence on the planet that both engines have an intermittent dead miss, or there's something in the ignition system of this wonderful Dodge wiring that is introducing that. I'm hoping that's the case. This particular 318 came out of a 80s Jeep YJ, which, it has no business being a YJ, but somebody had swapped this in, the transmission transfer case, and axles off of like a half-ton Dodge truck. So I have no idea the mileage on this or anything. It runs really strong, like I've said. It smokes really bad as well, so I think it's a good core to keep around. I'll probably just set it on that pallet over there and wrap it up nice and careful so that it can be used in a project later on down the road. There's something a little morbid about tearing apart an engine that's still warm. Not that I have a problem with morbid, I'm standing next to a hearse for fuck's sakes, but it's a little odd. Usually I'm tearing apart things that are completely inoperable. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. For the motor, all that's left would be the exhaust and motor mounts, I believe. Then I got to get under the car and do the transmission cross member, get some of the lines out of the way, and pull the drive shaft. Then I think everything's ready to pull out. I'm hoping to get everything in one go because I hate spending time underneath vehicles. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of people cut these right here, but I think that's a little retarded, so I'm going to try not to do that. Hopefully I'll get back around to this tomorrow, but it is Father's Day, and I'm taking Dad to a car show, so we'll see how much time there is after that. I do want to get this mount off for the alternator. That'll give me a little bit more room. And yeah, other than that, I think everything's done. So, yay. It always surprises me how quick everything can come apart. Pulling something isn't really that difficult. It's putting one in and making it actually, run. That's the tricky part. Well, fuck, I'll need to repaint the hood, I guess. Okie dokie, we got back a lot later than I previously anticipated, so I think we're going to stop this episode here, and instead of making one long video nobody's going to watch, I'll make 3 shorter videos nobody's going to watch. The next one, hopefully, we'll be putting the engine in here, doing a little bit of body work, yada yada, and then the last one, we'll get it running and driving again and go to a burnout somewhere. As you can see, because of the way that it is, it's up on ramps now, so I need to get the back end up on ramps, but I got to get a truck up here to anchor the front too, so, calamity doesn't ensue. So I'll work on doing that tomorrow maybe. Well, no, I gotta help somebody pull an engine tomorrow, so it'll be a couple days before we get back to this, most likely. It's like 90 degrees right now. The dust has intensified, and we now have forest fire smoke blown over from Canada or something. So, breathing's fun. The car show today turned out to be absolutely huge. Probably the biggest one that's ever occurred in Fairbanks, Alaska up here. So I took a lot of video just walking around that place, no commentary or nothing. So instead of adding that onto the tail end of this one, I will make it its own separate little video. And I was quite impressed by the turnout. I think it was like 180 some cars, which I know for lower 48 doesn't sound like much, but for up here, that's a fucking lot of people to come out to one event. So I'll talk to you in about a week or so when we get the Charger a little bit further on down the road with this project. And in the meantime, good luck with anything you're working on.